Real.
Welcome to Straight Real, where I give it to you straight. I'm your host, King J. So, what I wanted to touch on is racism in corporate America and how the workplace in corporate America remains one of the most racist um, structural elements in America. You have the criminal justice system, you have government, you have the police squad. All these things are inherently and structural racist. But a lot of times we don't talk about corporate America and how the unemployment rate for blacks is 35%. And those blacks who are employed, uh, most of them are underemployed. About half of them are underemployed. So just to put this in perspective, let's think about the stock market crash of 1929, when America went into a Great Depression. During that time, the unemployment rate for all Americans was 25%, and they call that a depression. Now, the unemployment rate for blacks is 35%. So where's the panic? If white unemployment rate was 35%, the federal government would be throwing every resource they had to make sure they brought that down. So what I always say is blacks have always been in a recession or a depression. We don't know what a recession is because we've always been in a recession. But one thing you see in the workplace is that blacks who get college degrees and get educated, they come out here in the workforce. First of all, they go into debt. They run up a lot of student loan debt, and then they come out here in the workforce, and then they start at the bottom, and they have to work their way up, and they still have to they have to answer to the same people they had to answer to before they had a college degree. So basically, nothing's changed. You still have to answer to a white superior. So you're still in a white supremacist system, which really is not here to uplift us at all. Basically, corporate America in the workplace, for the most part, wants to keep us in the labor force to serve others. And that's basically where we are. Because in a lot of corporations, you see a lot of blacks that have college degrees and they still work under whites who have sometimes less skills, less education, less experience than they do. And if you have the same skills or same education as someone or one of your white counterparts, you can rest assured most likely they'll be your boss. This is the unfairness and racism that goes on in corporate America that's not addressed enough. This is the reason why blacks can't save up enough money to buy a house, to invest their money, to send kids to college, to save for retirement and live a decent lifestyle. Because the jobs that we get are not paying us enough. We're underpaid, and we are basically working for less than what we're worth. We get paid half of what we're worth a lot of times. And what I always say is no one is going to give us any opportunities. White America is not going to give us any opportunities. We have to go out here and create our own opportunities. How do we do that? By pulling our resources together. You have to find a way to create opportunities so that you can create an opportunity for somebody else. Because when you go into white corporate America, they're not looking to give you an opportunity. What they're looking to do is give you a job that no one else wants to do, that they themselves don't want to do. And no matter how much education you have, 9 times out of 10, you still have to start at the bottom. Whereas a white person gets a college degree and they go straight into management, they go straight into executive positions, six-figure salaries. And so when you look at it, it's no mystery how they're able to buy homes and be able to save money and able to establish good credit and just be better well off financially than we are. Is because the workplace that we go into doesn't cater to us. It's not there to help us build and help us establish anything of our own. All it is it's another corporate. It's just another plantation. It's a corporate plantation. And I've heard a lot of people, a lot of my brothers say that it's just really a plantation, and it's really what I call paid slavery. It's the same concept as slavery. because when you think about it, the corporation, the structure and the blueprint of the corporation, it got its blueprint from slavery. The whole structure of a corporation was built based on slavery. And let me explain that. In slavery, they came up with a way to have others work for them and build wealth for them so that they wouldn't have to work. Slave masters never worked. They didn't have to work. So the people at the bottom, the slaves, were the ones who did all the labor, and they brought in all the money and made the slave masters wealthy. This is exactly how corporations are set up. It's set up so that the person at the bottom does all the work, and the people at the top, the further up you go, do less work and get paid more money. Now, I'm not talking about people who actually start companies, because I think people who found companies and people who start companies actually do the groundwork to get things started. I'm talking about executives that come in and run the company, and a lot of CEOs that get big bonuses and get multi-million dollar salaries, but yet they say they can't raise the wages of their employees. Just like Walmart. Walmart says that we can afford to raise wages of our employees, but yet they can afford to give their executives big bonuses. They can afford to pay their executives millions of dollars. The Walton family is one of the most richest families in American history. They can afford to pay them all that money, but can't afford to raise wages for regular people. So I don't buy the argument that they can't afford to raise wages. That money goes somewhere. They just choose for it to go all the way to the top. And this is the most racist uh, system that we're living in right now. Because if we understand our problem is not political. Our problem is economic. And as long as our problem remains economic, we'll never solve it. Whenever we get up and go to work for somebody else and they don't have our best interests in mind, nothing else will fall in place for us. It's like a domino effect. Everything starts and ends with economics in a capitalistic society. So that's where they have us, in the workforce. You know, you come into the workforce with all kinds of degrees and experience, and 9 times out of 10, they're not going to give you the position that you deserve. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of us do slip through the cracks and get those positions. You know, we have a handful of us that do get good executive positions and get all the perks that come along with it. But let's be honest, most of them positions are reserved for whites. They're not reserved for us. I'm talking about the positions that have all the perks. The perks where you have freedom, where you get a lot of vacation time. You're able to build your retirement and the real benefits that come along with a career. We don't normally get those. What we get is a slave type position where we're making the company more money and we're barely hanging on, just being able to pay our bills. And that comes with no matter how much experience and education you have. So the racism and unfairness I see in corporate America is where a lot of this starts. Because even though a lot of us can't find work, those of us who do have a job, we're still struggling just like anybody else. We still don't have anything. We're going to work busting our ass every day for nothing. We're just spinning wheels. And what we need to understand, like I said earlier, we have to learn, we have to find ways to create our own opportunities. Now, this can be going into business for yourself. This can be some type of artistic endeavor that you're trying to go into. But the bottom line, you have to create your own opportunities. Because as long as you have this fairy tale or this fantasy that if you get your college degree, you're going to go out here in the workforce and they're going to treat you equal, you're going to get a big great wake-up call. They're not going to treat you equally. And that's just not the way the system is designed. I mean, you can go out here and get in a lot of debt by going to college and getting a college degree. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just telling you that when it's all said and done, when you get out in the workforce, it's a whole different ball game. You're not going to be treated equally. And that's the one thing that we overlook a lot of times. We go out here and we feel like we have made it. We feel like we've arrived. But look at your boss. Look at what they're making, the salaries that they make. Now, I want you to assess this. If you have a college degree, Look at your boss and look at the credentials they have. 9 times out of 10, it's not anything more than what you have. So whites have pretty much a free pass when it comes to getting a college degree, when it comes to a career. When they talk about the American dream, they're not talking about you. That American dream is reserved for others. It's not reserved for you. So our American dream is different. We have to live a different type of American dream. We have to go out there and carve out ways that we can do things on our own, because it's not going to happen in the workforce. It's just not going to happen uh, on a corporate plantation, which is exactly what it is. So post your thoughts and your comments. Let me know what you think about this, and let's talk more about this, because I think that really this is part one of this type of video that I'm going to make, because the unfairness we see in corporate America from a lot of our educated brothers and sisters who are underpaid and underemployed is something that needs to be addressed and needs to be talked about constantly. And I will continue to do that. Peace.